Hey friends, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. Thanks for joining me for this December daily video. If you'd like to see what I'm going to do, stick around. What's up everyone? It's Jen with ChappyPlans. I'm so excited for this video because I have put so much work into pre-planning and coming up with the ideas for this. Thank you to Nellie and Clem, Danielle of Nellie and Clem. Definitely give her a follow. This is completely sparked off of her story that she did, or not her story, her class that she did in product play for this year. And she created this really cute little miniature house using a lot of the embellishments and items from this year's kit. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do a house also, but I'm going to do a gingerbread house because we are not doing gingerbread men this year or a gingerbread house because Nora has celiac. Last year we did a craft one and I couldn't find another craft version this year that wasn't like really easy or kind of lame. So we found this little sewing kit at Target, of course, and we started putting it together. Now we have all the pieces. We just need to string it together and the garland will be completely finished. But Nora, myself, and my husband Matt, we have been working on this over the past few days. So I decided I wanted to create, here, I'll leave this here for inspiration, a house that looks like this. And so I thought, well, that's perfect because story number 3 was about her wish list. So definitely go check that video out in case you missed it. But I used gingerbread craft paper to create that envelope. And I thought, oh, well, this is going to be story 4. This is going to be perfect. So I made a little mock-up. Obviously, this isn't going to be it, but I want it to look like this house. And so I took what I'm going to do. I took these old Stories by the Month. This is how they used to come. And I saved them. And I'm going to use the insides. You could do this with craft paper or brown paper. You don't even need, but I want mine to look like this. So then I decided I was going to do the roof, and the roof is where this came from. In Danielle's lesson, she's like, oh, you could cut this apart and use these as embellishments for other things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for the roof. So I'm going to cut this down and use this as the roof. And then I thought, how can I make these little houses? So first I thought, okay, I'll use these, which this is one of the cards that comes in the, I think in the card, it's an add-on, I think. And I was like, oh, I could trim these down and these could be the windows and they'd be the perfect size because they're about 2 by 2. And then I was like, but I really want to incorporate scallops in that whole scallop vibe and gold. So, or no, red. I wanted red because I wanted them to be red windows. And I went through this pack and there's only 2 of them, unfortunately. And I wish there were 3. If there were 3, I totally would have used the red. Kind of sad about that. But I'm using the gold because there are 3 gold. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to put on the fronts. But then I thought, okay, then I can do the door. And Danielle had used a tag in hers. So I'm going to trim this down. And this is going to be the door, which is perfect because it's the same shape. So I'm just going to trim right around it and trim off carefully this little tag part. And then it'll fit there. And then for the white decor, I'm going to try to stitch it. I don't know how that's going to go because I'm not like an expert by any means. I'm very much a noob, but I thought I could try to embroider it on here because I'm going to embroider this as a pocket. So there's actually going to be 2, like this is going to be like a big pocket. And I'm going to take the thread, which we actually have left over from the kit, and stitch it, embroider it around the edges, just like the little house. And then I'm going to try to embroider those. Then I thought, okay, what could I do for these windows? So I'm going to take my brads, and I have like a whole bunch of them. So I don't know which ones I'm going to use yet, but I have them in here. All my neutral colored ones. And I'm going to, since there's already hole punched, I'm going to create, like, let's just say I use this little heart one. I don't know if I will, but probably not because I think I like stars this year, but and then create a little swivel, and then underneath this is going to be a picture. So I have 3 photos selected, or I have a bunch here, but focus. There we are sewing. It's not focusing. I'm sorry. Maybe I can, sorry, it's really dark, so the lighting's terrible. Let me use the back of this. Well, anyway, you get the idea. It's Nora and I. And then there's one of my husband making the peppermints. He did all the peppermints because I couldn't figure it out because I'm special. These. And there's another one of us. And then another one. And then there's the finished houses and all the little ingredients to make the garland. So I can choose from those to be underneath these, to swivel underneath. And then I will have a photo under here, which is going to be this one of, it's perfect because he was standing up. So he was too tall. This photo was too tall to be under there. So it's perfect. So he's doing his stitching and Nora's doing hers. And you can even, I don't know if you can see, but I love that in the window. Gosh, this is really not cooperating. But anyway, in the window you can see there's like a reflection of the Christmas lights on the tree, which is over that side of the room. Sorry, I know this is not focusing very well, but so that's going to go behind the door, and I'm going to put a brad, and I think I'm going to put the number 4 on here, and I'm not sure what number I'm going to use yet, but I did pull these. This might be an option from Ellie's Studio. They're these vellum numbers I have in my stash, and then I also have the like numbers that came this year, and I could put that on there, or the last thing I'm going to do is add a chimney. And I went into my, I'm going to create like a tag, hanging a layered tag, cluster tag, which tag cluster, whatever you want to call it. I love doing a tag cluster. And I found this really thick piece of cardstock from last year. I have a bunch of labels and it blends in really well. And I can punch it. And then I'm going to layer it with some embellishments. So I have this one from last year, I think. It's vellum. It says Getting in the Holiday Spirit, which is perfect. And then this plastic word that says festive. And then I don't know what else I'll layer it with, but oh, I know. I want to make a dangle. So I want to make a little dangle charm. I know this is so extra, but I'm in the beginning stages of December daily, so I'm here. I have the energy and the bandwidth to do it. So I'm going to probably make a little gingerbread dangle. I got these at Michael's. It was like a whole string of charms. So I'm going to make a little gingerbread dangle, and then it's going to be attached or sandwiched between sorry, my daughter decided to come in the room even though she knew she wasn't supposed to. So I'm gonna put a dangle here, and then this is gonna be sandwiched between a big photo, I think, of the finished garland, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. And then my journaling. So that's what I'm thinking. I am very excited about this translation of ideas, as Allie Edwards puts it, from Nellie and Clem, Danielle's lesson. So I am going to do a lot of this off camera because otherwise it's going to take a long time to show you the process, but you know kind of the steps of what I'm going to do. And then I'll film some of it with a voiceover, and some of it I'll just do off camera and come back and just show you like, okay, this part's done, this part's done. So let's go. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut apart these Stories by the Month envelopes. I want to use the back, or the inside rather, for the outside part of the gingerbread house. So once I get those trimmed down to size, I want them to be just about outside the page protector, which is 7 by 8¼ inches. Then I'm going to mark about 2½ inches from the top, which is where I want the house portion, like the roof, to start. And then I find the middle of the center of the paper at, what would that be, like 3½ inches. I'm gonna use my pencil there to score that, and then I'm going to be able to cut out the shape of the actual house or the roof. And then I can use some washi tape to adhere the two pieces together and stitch them with the embroidery thread that is left over from the actual gingerbread garland kit. I'm just using my piercing tool that I have from Tim Holtz Ranger to poke holes along the 3 sides where I'm going to stitch the thread so that it's a lot easier for me to do so. Just an FYI, in this portion of the process video, I will be coming back in and out periodically to narrate what I'm doing. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy this nice calming music and you are relaxing and able to get some inspiration from this video. So you can see I'm trimming down the frame to create the quote-unquote icing for the top of the gingerbread house. And that is the entire reason and jumping off point for me deciding to create this entire story the way I did, because that was one of the suggestions or tips that Danielle of Nellie and Clem mentioned in her lesson in the product play class. So now that the pocket portion of the house is complete, I'm going to kind of line up and play around with the positioning of the three windows and the door. And I need to trim down the photos and select the photos I want to use. So there are three photos. 2 are of Laura and I actually sewing the houses, and then one of the completed pile of houses that the 3 of us had worked on. And the brads I'm going to use are teenier than the ones I had mentioned in the introduction of the video, because I felt like it was a better size for the smaller squares, scalloped squares there. And I'm just going to use my We Are Memory Keepers punch to put holes in the photos, and then again use my piercing tool to poke a hole in the craft paper. And then on top of the door, I need to first create a hinge. So I'm going to trim down some just scrap paper to create a hinge, and then I end up trimming down the photo of my husband and Nora doing their stitching to fit behind that quote-unquote door that I create. Once I have the photo and then the door that's flipping open, I'm going to cut apart the box, the packaging that we got the garland in to fit on the back side of the door. It could also be a place for journaling if I wanted, or an additional photo, but I wanted to include some of the back side of the packaging. So I'm going to, not very successfully, tape that to the back side of the door. I end up trying to create a hinge. You can see that there. But this packaging was so thick that it just kept cracking when I kept trying to fold it over. So I end up having to pull that, rip that off, which leaves a pretty ugly white space where the original hinge can be seen with that scrap paper that I made. So I will go back and kind of try to cover it up with some gold washi tape from last year's December daily kit. It still looks really janky on the inside, but that's okay. It is what it is. It's going to function the way it's, you know, intended, and it maybe doesn't look so pretty, but that's all right. It looks homemade and it was made with love, right? That's what I'm telling myself anyway. So I'm attaching the larger brad as the doorknob, which I think looks really cute in comparison to the smaller brads I used on the tinier windows. And then I'm going to use my Zig two-way glue pen to adhere the 4 to the door. But before I finish up the door, because I'm frustrated with it at this point, I decide to create half of the inside of this, what will be the pull-out portion of this story. So I'm basically using almost the entire front side, or no, back side rather. I think, is this the back of the front? I don't know. But one of the sides of the packaging. And that's going to act as one piece of the inside. And then what's sandwiched between that and the photo that I take and will show you at the end of the video, because I did all of this in like 3 parts, is the picture of the finished garland hanging on the wall, because this project took us a couple of days worth of time. So that's gonna, so you can see it goes right inside there. One side's gonna be the packaging, the other side's gonna be this sort of chimney piece, and then, or not the other side, the middle is gonna be the chimney, and then the other side is going to be the photo of the finished garland. So I want to know where the quote-unquote chimney is going to be peeking out through the top so that I can decide what embellishments I want to put on the tag. I love a tag cluster or a dangle. December Daily just really lends itself to being extra, I feel like. So now that I know how much it's going to be peeking through the top of the house, I can then put the punch and then start to build my cluster. So I'm going to use the vellum piece I shared at the beginning that says "Getting in the Holiday Spirit" and the festive clear word phrase, a candy cane, and then later on, after I do this off camera, I will make my dangle, which is the gingerbread person at the bottom with a few little beads, and that's all going to dangle from the chimney. While I've been yapping at you, you saw that I kind of toyed around with where the placement of the chimney would be with the selected dangle and clusters would go, and now I have drawn in the sort of icing, if you will, on the front of the house, and I did not have the bandwidth to stitch it, although that would have been way cute. So instead, I decided to use a paint pen, and I went with actually my grabby paint pens, which I received in one of my art box kits from Grabby. They are amazing, so definitely check them out. And sometimes I will share unboxings for their scrapbook boxes, so those are really great, and sometimes we'll include things like these paint pens, and they're amazing quality. These are fine tip, and I really liked the way they looked on this cardstock as opposed to even trying the Sharpie and Posca pens, so I preferred this one. So once I get that all doodled in, which I spared you me doing all of that part, I can work on tying things to the chimney. So now I can adhere the number 4. I'm going to use my 2-way glue dot marker, or pen if you will, just to try to trace glue right over where the red foiling is on the other side so that you don't see through the vellum, which sometimes can happen with vellum. So I love the way that it looks, but for me there's too much white space at the top of the door. I just have a problem with white space. So I auditioned a whole bunch of things off camera and even try to put this wreath on. It was like I was trying to make fetch happen, and I say that sometimes, but it just wasn't, fetch was not happening. I wanted to bring in some red, but ultimately I go with gold. So first, it helps me to put a little something on the windows because I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want this wreath. Let me put these hearts on the windows, see if I like that. I do, but then I don't like the way the wreath looks with the hearts. So now I'm back to what do I do with the top of this door? And ultimately, I'm going to decide on using my stamps. So my new stamp set from Ali Edwards this December daily release with my Versamark watermark stamp pad and my gold embossing powder from Tim Holtz with Ranger to add just the perfect little touch to the top of the door. You'll probably notice, and I didn't until it was too late, that I had completely warped the plastic window. It is still really wonky and wrinkled to this day. I tried to fix it by adding heat back to it, and I tried laying things on it, but in the end, it is still jacked up and turned up at the corner, and the gold part is kind of faded now. But again, it's just that homemade vibe. It's very DIY'd, okay? I'm not, just note to self, do your embossing away from plastic, or I could have covered up the plastic maybe with something, I don't know. But in the end, it's all gonna work out. I'm going to just finish by adding these plastic attachers from Ali Edwards, 3 on the bottom and then just 1 on the top. And now I can show you the fully completed finished project, some of it which did not get filmed. Honestly, despite the janky window, I love the way it turned out. I'm very pleased, and let me read you the journaling. It just says, this year we made a gingerbread garland in lieu of the glutenized edible version. We all worked on sewing the little houses, but Daddy saved the day by creating the peppermints. Who knew he had another hidden talent as an embroidery expert? Once all the pieces were completed, I strung everything together to finish our garland. You knew exactly where you wanted to hang it, right on top of your macrame and butterfly light wall hangings in the perfect spot. We had so much fun in the making, and now you get to remember it every year when we pull it out of our ever-growing Christmas storage to hang it up again. Memories like these are what balance out the busyness of the season, and I am so grateful. I just added the gingerbread packaging to the back of the chimney to finish off the entire insert, and now it is completely finished. You guys, I really thank you for hanging out for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Please feel free to tag me. I appreciate it if you do decide to use this story as inspiration for your December daily project. And as always, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you are not, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. Take care of yourselves, friends, and remember that you are enough. Bye!